Hello! We are in The Sims 1 today, and if you read the title of this video, then you already know what's going on. My initial plan for this was to run a quick rags to riches in all 4 games and just make a little video with a few observations about the relative difficulty in each. But I've been deeply humbled by my experience with the first generation of this game, and I now understand there is no such thing as a quick rags to riches challenge in The Sims 1. So, just sticking with 1 today, let's get into it. The sim I'll be running these challenges with is Annie Blackburn, and as you can see, I've chosen a pretty casual fit for her since I imagine the first few days of this challenge will not be particularly glamorous. I know there are plenty of variations on rags to riches challenges with specific rules, but I'm going by my own rules here, so the goals for all 4 games will be to reach a net worth of 100,000 simoleons, to get to the top level of any career track, to build a home with at least 3 bedrooms and 2 bathrooms, and to adopt at least 3 pets. So on the right side of the screen here, I'll be tracking progress towards those goals, as well as how many game days it takes me to get there. I'll also be tracking the Sims in the family down here, but I don't have any specific goal for that. While a minimum of 3 pets is something I'd consider necessary for success in life, when it comes to a spouse and kids, I can take them or leave them. I'm starting with absolutely 0 simoleons in all the games, so I've used the water tool here to get our cash down to 0, and I will not be taking any proceeds from any of the freebies you receive at the start of the game, such as the box of magic supplies in this game, Mr. Humble's computer in The Sims 2, or the time travel portal in The Sims 3. And now, without further ado, let the struggle begin. Okay, the only object I have access to is the newspaper, so for the time being it will be my sole source of entertainment as well as my ticket to employment. There's only 1 job posting per day in the paper, and today it looks like that job is security guard. Not an ideal career track for Annie, as she does have some law enforcement related trauma in her past, but the alternative at this point would be starving to death, so we'll have to take it for now and switch to something else when we can. It's about 8 AM and my carpool won't be coming until 11 PM, so looks like we're in for a long day of reading the paper. Luckily the welcome wagon has arrived, so I can pass the time chatting with Bella Goth for a while. Gunther Goth Sr.'s here as well, but he keeps gossiping about Bella right in front of her face and I'm not really having it, so I will be ignoring that man. Bella has been gracious with her time, but I don't think she was expecting to find an empty lot when she came to greet the new neighbor, so she is bored and heading home. Obviously Gunther is not an option for civil conversations, so I'm gonna hang out with Scout and Spork for a while. Fast forward to the evening, Cornelia Goth Sr. is a bit better mannered than her husband, so she has been keeping me company, but I have been standing on an empty lot for over 12 hours at this point, so I'm not doing so well. I'm pretty hungry and tired, and it looks like my bladder has just given out, though that was a pretty impressive run there. Fun fact, I myself have driven from Oakland, California to Salt Lake City, Utah without stopping to pee before, so Annie and I are both in the Steel Bladder Club. But anyway, we are now officially on day 2, and I have returned home with the sweet simoleons of my first paycheck, earned through risking life and limb in service to loss prevention at SimMart. It would be really nice to clean up, or sit, but I know a phone is my lifeline at the moment, so I'm gonna prioritize that and see how many simoleons are left once I find some food in Old Town, which is thankfully free to visit. It's a beautiful morning when I arrive in Old Town, but unfortunately the only food option is a pastry cart, and the pastries are not very filling, so I down 2 at a total cost of 30 simoleons, and then proceed to wash my hands about 6 times in the park restroom. When I return home, I still have enough money for an armchair, but not a bed, so I pass out on the grass for a few hours until the newspaper comes, bringing with it the opportunity for a different career. I am, however, a little too depressed to focus on job hunting at the moment, so I tidy up my home a bit and call another trolley to go get some more eclairs. I did end up passing out walking from my armchair to the trolley, and it left me behind, but this worked in my favor because I was home to receive a call that 1,250 simoleons I had lost was found by the Psychic Sims network, so I made some major upgrades to my place. In hindsight, I could have made wiser choices with this windfall. A toilet, for example, seems a frivolous purchase at this early stage, but I felt like I was really progressing. With the pantry, I would need homegrown crops to make a real meal, but I do have access to snacks, so I replaced my 2 pastries per day with about 5 to 6 bags of chips, which cost 5 simoleons each. Eventually I got smart and replaced the toilet with a shower by day 3 and the pantry with a fridge by day 5, but I continued to be too depressed to look for a new job or earn a promotion at my current one, until through the combination of winning the lottery and a regional cooking competition, I was able to build a pretty hospitable open-air home, and by day 7 got myself in a good enough mood to look through the classifieds. Unfortunately, the only job available was in the hacker career track and paid half of my current salary, but I really don't want to be a rent-a-cop anymore, so I decided to enter my Mr. Robot era. At this point, I could start to feel the beginning of the shift from surviving to thriving. I made friends with the locals, I took up painting, I cleaned up my lot, and I was doing pretty well at work and earned a 1,000 simoleon bonus for catching a bug on my 3rd day as a beta tester. This allowed me to, for the first time, put a roof over my head and even build a separate bathroom, although I couldn't afford flooring quite yet. I also added a pet dish for my closest friend, Cher Strays, a little gray and white dog who I thought was a pit bull, but according to Sims Wiki is an Italian greyhound. On day 11, I earned my first promotion and got a bookshelf so I could build my mechanical knowledge for work. But while life looks much better, I am still earning less than I did as a security guard, so progress is slow and every day is pretty much the same. Get up, eat 3 servings of salad, go to work, come home, eat 3 servings of salad, and watch my tiny TV or paint until I pass out. On the early morning of day 17, my easel, which had become my greatest joy in life, is stolen by some sneaky sim, so I have to use the few simoleons I saved up to replace it, and I also invest in a burglar alarm. Cher Strays is a great comfort to me during this time, so after work that day, I decide to adopt her and buy her a little bed to go next to my easy chair. It's nice to have a dog to greet me when I come home from work, but between bills and the cost of feeding myself, Cher, and all of the neighborhood animals, my 150 simoleon paycheck is stretched pretty thin, and I'm not having much fun on this hamster wheel, so on day 21 I decide to take a day off work and focus on some self-care. My neighbor, Brad Burb, comes over, and we have a nice chat and some salad, and then I turn in early to catch up on sleep. While I'm at work the next day, some sneaky sim returns, emboldened by their earlier success, but I will not be fooled twice. Alerted by my burglar alarm, Officer Michelle arrives on the scene, apprehends the thief, and awards me 1,000 simoleons for aiding in his capture, meaning the 250 simoleon alarm has now paid for itself 4 times over. I put those funds toward a nicer TV and more comfortable chair and start going to work in a much better mood, but I still return every day with no promotion. Frustrated by my inability to progress in my career despite my best efforts, I decided to focus my time and energy on one of my other goals and adopt another pet. So Spork, one of my first acquaintances when I moved to the neighborhood, joins the family on day 23. By day 25, I had saved up enough for a higher quality bed, and I leave for work feeling the most rested I've been thus far. This results in another promotion, but even as a webmaster at level 3 of the hacker career, I still earn less than I did as a mall cop, despite the fact that this job actually requires skills. I'll need logic to go farther in my career, so I go with the cheapest option, a checkers table, and start building skill, though the game constantly reminds me that my progress is not legitimate because I'm earning it through a baby game instead of chess. On day 27, I get another windfall in the form of an insurance settlement for 900 simoleons, but I'm gonna hold on to it for now. I am starting to regret Spork a little bit. It's hard to stay on top of the litter box, and between that and the salads I leave out until they rot to ensure I maximize the number of servings I get, the buzzing of flies is constant. Cher, for her part, has been keeping the raccoons at bay so they don't spread trash everywhere, but I think I may have gotten over my skis a bit by adopting 2 pets before obtaining basic things like an oven or a table or a kitchen sink. My career progress has slowed to a snail's pace as I'm trying to allot my time between work, building skills, and getting my mood up, and given the rapid motive decay in this game, I can only prioritize 2 of those things within any given day. As such, it takes me a full 10 days to get to my next promotion on day 35, at which point I'm finally earning as much as I did at the first level of the law enforcement career track. It does pay more to be a hacker in the long run, but it's pretty rough in the beginning. I put the promotion bonus money toward a better fridge and a house expansion, but keep it unfinished for now, so I've got a little indoor lawn, like one of those natural grass patches for dogs. As a side note, I bought one of those myself when my dog was recovering from surgery and couldn't climb the stairs of our apartment complex, and I gotta say they are a good option, though the smell gets pretty strong pretty fast. But anyway, I add flooring after another 300 simoleon windfall a couple days later, and invite Brad Burb over to show off my new and improved place and share some salad. He becomes my first official family friend, as unfortunately pets don't count toward that total. On day 39, I added a bedroom and rearranged my place, and I'm pretty happy with it despite the mouse infestation. Spork is finally proving her worth assisting with that issue, though she does leave the corpses all over the house. Cher has continued to fend off the raccoons, but bears are a little outside of her jurisdiction, and Claire has been harassing us, so the buzzing of flies is still constant. Another windfall hits on day 42, this time for 1,050 simoleons, and now I'm finally able to put together a legitimate house. I've got a full eat-in kitchen, all my walls are painted, and honestly if this was real life, I'd probably be happy to stop right here. I'm a homeowner, I've got my own bathroom, and enough seating for me and my pets to hang out at the end of the day and watch TV, so life is pretty good. But Annie's not gonna settle for just good enough, and speaking of Annie, let's get back to her. Uh-oh. Annie, are you okay? You okay? Are you okay, Annie? Nope, she's dead. Looks like I am a big dumb baby after all, since I made the oldest mistake in the book and forgot a smoke alarm. A chess player would never. But all is not lost because we've learned some valuable lessons here. Number 1, maybe don't quit a high-paying job, at least not right away. It probably would have been in my best interest to stay in law enforcement despite my moral objections until I had a decent home, and then switch over to something else where I would have climbed the ladder faster. Number 2, I probably could have spent less of my time early on befriending animals. It doesn't really pay to live like a Disney princess without the marrying into money part. And number 3, buy a smoke alarm. Okay, take 2. The lot has been cleared and Annie2 has risen from the ashes of Proto-Annie. Let's see what job the newspaper has chosen for us. Psychic phone friend. Fun. Pays even worse than the hacker gig though, so this might be rough. Looks like the welcome wagon has arrived. Mortimer is being weird and upsetting, must run in the family, so I'll go ahead and talk to Diane Pleasant. True to her name, we're having a nice time chatting, and she's already become my first family friend on day 1, so looks like we're off to a pretty good start. I don't want to mess this up though by peeing myself in front of her, so I'm going to send her home and read the paper until my carpool comes at 5. Okay, home from work and 100 simoleons richer. Unfortunately, just 2 simoleons shy of the cost of a turkey dinner. My salary is much lower this time around, so if I buy a phone and a haystack to put it on, I won't have enough money for those little pastries in Old Town, so I'm gonna see how full this plate of cookies can make me. Not the healthiest option, but it's better than nothing. I'm also going to try to avoid soiling myself this time so I can keep my hygiene up, so even though I don't have money to spend, I'm gonna go to Old Town just to use the bathroom. Alright, made it to the toilet just in time, but they won't let me hustle pool here, so I'm gonna head home and pass out. On to day 2, and things are looking up. I received a 200 simoleon windfall, so now I can buy that turkey I've been eyeing, and invite over the neighbors to help me eat it. Now you may be asking, why not just order a pizza? It's only 40 simoleons. And that is an excellent question, and one that you would be right to ask. Somehow the existence of pizza did not occur to me until almost the end of this challenge. In my defense, I've been a vegan my entire adult life, so I guess it just slipped my mind that normal people can have cheesy flatbread delivered to their door for a reasonable price. I do live in a time and place now where vegan pizza delivery exists, but not at a price I'd call affordable. I guess because in the famous words of Freckle, sometimes things that are expensive are worse. But anyway, the turkey party was fun, a mime showed up, then I passed out. I sell the turkey haystack while at work that night and head to Old Town when I get home to do the customary bathroom trip and 4 to 5 hand washes. I try to have a little fun reading, but I'm super tired, so I head back home to pass out next to the rotting turkey carcass and a visiting skunk. To no one's surprise, I'm too depressed to look for a better job the next day, so I buy an armchair so I can at least be more comfortable. After work that night, I get another turkey because, again, I'm an idiot, but this time I eat it alone because I don't really want anyone to see my place like this. And when I get back from my Old Town bathroom trip, I pass out again. The skunk has now been replaced by some families of cockroaches. The next 4 or 5 days look largely the same. I buy a turkey every other day when I can afford it and exist off cookies or pastries when I can't. I can't dispose of the turkey plates without a sink, so it's starting to look like I'm living out of a dumpster behind a Boston market, though at least I've replaced my armchair with a love seat, so I do have a place to sleep. Even outside of the turkeys, I do seem to be held down by something like poverty tax, a real-life phenomenon also known as the poor pay more, which refers to the circumstances through which the cost of living is actually higher for those with lower incomes in terms of actual prices paid for everyday goods, but also due to a number of other factors such as poorer health and the precarity of not being able to build savings, meaning you have to rent or buy on credit or utilize predatory high-interest services such as payday loans. In my case here, a pizza would cost me 40 simoleons, but if I had access to a kitchen, I could cook a family-sized meal for half that cost. I also have the time and opportunity cost of having to travel outside of my home in order to use a restroom and wash up. Just like if you don't happen to own a car and rely on public transit or simply don't have essential resources such as a grocery store, doctor's office, etc. within your own neighborhood, much of your time and energy is lost to transportation. All that to say, in this type of challenge, at least in The Sims 1, it seems like it takes a really long time to progress to the point of having a home that meets your most basic needs, but once you do have that, the pace kind of picks up, assuming you don't burn it all down. On this run, it's taking me even longer to reach that point than with Annie 1 because I've had fewer windfalls, my pay is lower, and I'm not able to get in a good enough mood to look for new work. I also want to note here that the empty plates for the cookies and turkey, while really worth nothing, don't seem to depreciate with regard to the value of the lot, so my bills are actually higher this time around as well. So if this were real life, I might have reached the point of perceiving the chances of winning the lottery as not meaningfully different than the probability of getting out of my current situation by any other means. But in The Sims, I do have an option with better odds, so by day 14 I decide to sell my love seat and phone to buy a Genie lamp. My first wish lands me with enough houseplants to sell and make back my investment and then some, so I buy a toilet to avoid soiling myself before work. After work, the Genie has recharged, so I try the lamp again, but I'm not lucky this time around. I end up with a pile of bills I have no chance of ever paying off. In a panic, I sell my toilet for a new lamp rather than waiting a day for my current one to recharge, and I'm granted enough lawn flamingos to sell off for a bench to sleep on and a new phone. I head off to work and try again when I return. This time, I get what I've been looking for, a pot of gold that will be my key to economic mobility since my job has failed me on that front. So finally, after 16 days of gameplay, things are starting to turn around. I have a sink now so I can clean up all the turkey carcasses, and a fridge so I can eat real meals at home. SimCity Savings and Loan does show up to collect on that pile of bills, but I guess they take pity on me when they see I don't even have a proper house to enter, as all they take with them are the past 2 bills themselves. By day 20, my lot is all cleaned up and I'm in a good enough mood to look for a new job. The offering in the newspaper is department store clerk in the fashion career track. It pays 30 simoleons more per day, so I ditch my job as a phone psychic and enter the world of fashion. 4 days and one 1400 simoleon windfall later, I finally have a roof over my head, a point I reached in only 10 days on my last run. On day 26, I earn my first promotion to tailor and purchase a set of pet dishes for my friend Aristotle Strays, a ragdoll cat who kept me company through my Boston market days when I wasn't in a state to entertain sim visitors. I lost touch with my first friend, Diane Pleasant, during that period of time, but after making some upgrades to my house on day 27, I invite her over to reconnect over some canned beans, and we pick up right where we left off. After paying my bills the next morning, I leave for work with only 7 simoleons to my name, but with my new job and home, I am able to build savings over time. I invest in a new bed on day 34, head to work feeling rested the next morning, and land another promotion to makeup artist. Uh-oh. I'll need cooking and body skill to advance further in the fashion career, so I purchase a bookshelf and build a tiny pool in my backyard. And just a few days later, I've been promoted to a painter's model. The pace of my progress has picked up quite a bit since my early days on this lot, but at this point I'll need to build more friendships to earn another promotion, adding just another constraint to my time. This proves to be more difficult as, unlike skills, friendships decay over time and require constant maintenance. I start spending more time out socializing in Old Town, where I pick up gardening as a hobby, and begin attempting to befriend Tiffany Burb. But she proves to be less easygoing than Diane Pleasant and also clogs my toilet every time she visits. Finally, after a week of near-daily contact with Tiffany, we become friends on day 46. She clogs my toilet once more, but I let her know it's okay and say it happens all the time, which is a lie as it never happens to me, and I get to work with the plunger as she heads home. Exhausted, I skip work the next day. At this point, I've exceeded the 42-day lifespan of Annie2, but seem to have made less progress on most goals. Luckily, I land another promotion to fashion photographer on day 48, and I'm able to make some major upgrades to my home. I add a separate bedroom, a television and love seat, and a full kitchen, this time with a smoke alarm, and after a 1250 simoleon windfall that night, I also add a table and chairs. I'll need more charisma, body, and creativity skill, as well as an additional family friend to advance my career further. Once I've built most of the skills required, I decide to lean on my existing network and invite both Tiffany and Brad Burb over for dinner. This does mean another clogged toilet, but it's worth it since Brad is pretty easy to get along with and we become friends relatively quickly. Although I now meet the requirements for a promotion, it doesn't come right away as I still struggle to maintain a decent mood for work, especially now that I have 3 friendships and multiple plants to care for on a daily basis. So when I receive another windfall for 1100 simoleons on day 60, I put it towards some help around the house and add Bonehilda to my family. The next day I finally earn a promotion to trade show model and start feeling like I've really made it. I expand my house, giving Bonehilda her own bedroom, and adding a half bathroom so Tiffany won't be clogging the only toilet in the house when she visits. While I build toward my next promotion, I settle into a new routine of awakening Bonehilda every night before bed, so I wake up to a clean house. I'm now free to live like a spoiled child, leaving trash, puddles, and dirty dishes where I please, comfortable in the knowledge that someone else will clean up my messes. So while I'm still far from my goals, I feel like I'm starting to get a taste of what it means to be truly wealthy. By day 66, I have more than enough time and space for pets now, so I officially adopt Aristotle, more of a formality at this point since he's already been living on my lot for a while. The next day I visit Old Town again to sell the produce from my garden, and I meet Elden Hick. I find him intriguing, but I'm in my PJs, so I don't stick around to chat too long. A couple days later, I invite him over for lunch. He's down to talk fashion and likes my jokes, so we get along pretty well. I decide to skip work to hang out with him the rest of the day, and we become friends and then some by the time he leaves. While a romantic partner was not initially one of my goals for this challenge, I'm 70 days in at this point, so it's becoming painfully clear that this thing won't be over anytime soon, and a second income for the household could be quite useful. I contemplate this over the next few days while I accumulate some more furnishings for the house. By day 75, I've added a wardrobe to my bedroom, and I decide it's time to don a new outfit that isn't associated with Annie1 or the painful early days of my life as Annie2. Although it's not really that different, I feel like this change signals a new phase in my life, one in which I'm confident that my needs will be met on a daily basis, and I'm now mostly thinking about what I want beyond that. More pets is the first thing that comes to mind right now, so the next day I add my longtime friend Fifi Strays to the family. Her breed is not listed on the Sims wiki, but she appears to be either a chocolate lab or some kind of brown spaniel. Again, if this were real life, I'd be more than happy to stop climbing the ladder right here, but I'm still a long ways off from my career and net worth goals for this challenge, so the grind continues. My friendship with Tiffany Burb in particular has been very challenging to maintain, and I gain and lose it about 3 times over the course of a single evening of hanging out. Although she didn't clog my toilet this time, so I guess that's progress. After setting my 7th or 8th fire of this run the next day, none of which have been fatal thanks to my smoke alarm, I decide to upgrade my kitchen. Not sure if that will impact the frequency of fires, but it does look nice. A few days later, on day 85, I finally earn my next promotion to runway model, a promotion that has taken over 20 days to obtain. The hours are longer, but I get to ditch the evening gown and go back to my all-black Y2K fashion uniform. With a salary of 650 simoleons per day, I can now afford luxuries and trade my fatback TV in for a much larger flat screen, which is stolen about 24 hours later, but I'm awarded enough to replace it. Given the rate of depreciation in this game, that wouldn't have been the case had it been stolen just a few days later. On day 89, I decide to change my outfit again for something a little less casual, as I've invited Elden over. He shows up with chocolates, but also with Bella Goth, so I'm getting mixed signals, and decide to just keep things friendly for today. We hang out again on day 94, again it's a mixed bag, but we part on good terms. On day 96, I set 2 fires in one morning, so it seems my more expensive appliances have not had much impact on fire frequency. 2 days later, I hang out with Elden again on one of my maintenance days I take off of work to build skills and keep my friendships intact. Things go much better this time around, and the signals are no longer mixed. I decide to have a little fun on day 99 and train Aristotle to dance, and then the next day I celebrate 100 days of gameplay by spending some simoleons downtown and getting to know some townies. With my 9-hour workday as a runway model, most of my time outside of work is spent on meeting my basic needs, and maybe some skill building here and there, so the next few days pass in a blur. On day 109, I spot Elden in Old Town and finally give him that teddy bear I bought back on day 100. I feel bad for periodically falling out of touch with my friends, but it takes so much effort to do anything else within a day that I'm also socializing, that I typically end up passing out on the ground before my guests have left, as I do the following night when I invite the Burbs over. A couple days later, my TV is stolen once again, and this time the award doesn't cover the cost of a replacement, but I have enough saved up to get one anyway. Life is starting to feel a little stale, and I'm discouraged by my lack of career progress, so I cheer myself up a bit by remodeling my kitchen and living room. I invite Hypatia Townie over to show off my place, but we don't have much time to hang before I have to go to work, so I meet up with her downtown later, and she becomes my 5th family friend, meaning I finally have enough friends for a promotion, which I earn on day 118, which is again a little over 20 days since my last promotion, so it's quite an investment of time to climb a career ladder in this game. I'm tired of going it alone as well, so on day 122 I invite Elden over and attempt a proposal. Things don't exactly go to plan, and I can't really blame him for not being wooed by my all-work and no-play approach to everything in life. I'm bummed by the rejection, but 2 days later my workaholic tendencies are rewarded when I earn 10,000 simoleons in royalties for being named one of SimCity's 10 sexiest Sims. Not sure how royalties work for sexiness in The Sims. As far as I know, in real life you don't even have any ownership over photos taken of you without your knowledge or consent, but either way, this is the biggest influx of cash I've seen thus far, and I decide to spend it on a new bed, as having only a twin bed in my house, despite being somewhat wealthy, might have signaled a lack of seriousness to Elden about our future. Full of the confidence of having my physical attractiveness publicly confirmed via numbered list, I invite Elden over once more to pop the question. I ensure he's well-fed and entertained this time, but I'm still met with rejection. Probably didn't help that I was seconds away from passing out from exhaustion when I asked. But I remain undeterred. The next day I skip work so I can tend to Elden's needs all day. He shows up with a fruitcake, and I'm not sure how to take that, but after a home-cooked meal and a few hours of cartoons, I make my move, and this time I am met with success. So I guess 3rd time truly is the charm, though I would say that in real life if you have to ask 3 times, maybe don't. With a new member added to my household, I'm seeing my home with fresh eyes and suddenly feel self-conscious about the staircase leading to nowhere, so I add a 2nd story to the house, but leave it empty for the time being, as I really don't have or need anything to put up there. The next morning, Elden picks out a new outfit that better suits his newfound wealth. We share a lovely breakfast, I expand the pool area, and Elden invites over his mother so we can get to know each other. But I can't skip another day of work or I'll get fired, so I leave Elden to entertain her on his own. Elden is an aspiring celebrity, so he heads off to Studio Town when I return from work and records some commercial jingles. Most of our days look the same at first. We have breakfast, go to work, come home, and build skills or socialize with friends in the evening. Elden starts moving up the star charts pretty quickly, but for me a promotion is still far off as I need to rebuild my friend base after dedicating so much time to pursuing Elden. On day 131, I start finishing the upstairs and add a full bathroom, and by day 132, after reconnecting with Hypatia Townie, I've finally gained enough family friends for another promotion. But I'm still short on body skill, so it'll be a while before I can advance. Elden, on the other hand, is now starring in soap operas and has a stalker who visits our home daily. Overall, life as a couple is working out pretty well, things don't get lonely, and we share cooking and gardening duties as well as family friends. But on day 135, we receive a phone call that might switch things up a bit. In The Sims 1, adoption agencies function solely through cold calls, and our number must have come up on someone's list. We do have the space for a kid, so I figure, why not? And baby Vera joins the family. We all dote on her the first evening, but the next morning as I hand off baby duties to Elden, there's a traffic jam caused by the pets. Despite my own divine intervention with move objects on, Elden is still too dumb to figure out how to reach the baby, and then the option to interact with it at all just disappears. So, we really couldn't win here unfortunately, and the social worker shows up shortly to take Vera away. Bit of a bummer, but easy come, easy go, I guess. Over the next few days, we turn our focus to climbing our respective career ladders and pass like ships in the night while the upstairs level of our home remains empty and unused. Finally, on day 140, I reach the 9th level of a fashion career track and become a fashion columnist. My uniform is now this over-embellished suit, and I put my bonus toward an office on the 2nd floor of the house, and some fencing around the outside of our lot, because nothing says wealth and success like a big fence around a bunch of land that you don't use. With a daily salary of a little over 1,000 simoleons, I now earn sums of money in a single day that would have been life-changing for me in the first few weeks of gameplay. But I still have one more rung on the career ladder to reach, and no time for home upkeep, so I hire a gardening service, and I'm now completely uninvolved in the maintenance of my property. On day 144, we hit a net worth of over 50,000 simoleons, so halfway to the goal. Elden becomes a trendsetter on the star charts, and our home becomes a stop on some sort of celebrity tour, because apparently doxing, far from being discouraged, is actually Studio Town policy. Unfortunately, despite his newfound fame, Elden is still not able to secure an autograph from his favorite music artist, Sarah McLachlan. 2 days later, I am unexpectedly promoted again to fashion designer, the top level of the fashion career track, meaning all of those hours and days and weeks of building skills and maintaining friendships with people I don't particularly like have finally paid off. Now that I can relax a little and enjoy the view from the top, it seems like a good time to add to the family. So on day 147, baby Jerry is born. To my great disappointment, however, my dreams of coasting along at the top of my career track are dashed 2 days later when I'm forced out of my job and into level 7 of the culinary arts career. You'll notice that dialogue box does not contain a yes or no, simply an okay. So apparently I have no choice in the matter. But I have no intentions of trying to climb another career track while working for less than half my previous salary. Now, with the exception of my brief dalliance with the Genie lamp to claw my way out of poverty, I've tried to play by the book up until now. But the rules of reality are not working in my favor, so I think it's time to bend them a bit by dabbling in the supernatural. At least one thing is going right, though. We managed to keep the social worker away for 3 days, so Jerry has successfully made it to adolescence. I put off furnishing a room for him until now because it would be depressing to have it all ready just to lose him to SimCity social services, but they only care about babies, so we're safe at this point. As far as the magic stuff goes, I have no magical ingredients yet, so I'm gonna go get the lay of the land in Magic Town. I don't have any magic coins either, so I'll see if I can do some favors for the vendors. Vicky needs a red banana of doom, and I secure one for her, so she gives me my first magical ingredient, glacial glass. I'm about to pass out though, so I'm heading home. The next day, Jerry heads off for his first day of school, and I mark the official start of my witchy era with an outfit change. I'm also officially fired from the culinary arts job I never showed up for. I don't have a clear plan for the magic stuff yet, but I want to figure out all the spells and charms first, and then see which ones I can use for financial gain. So over the next few days I start building up a base of ingredients by making them from scratch, bartering, and doing favors for vendors. My first charm is the Beauty and Beast charm, which like many of the spells and charms is fun, but not going to bring in any simoleons. So for the time being we're relying on Elden's gigs in Studio Town for support. That has become more of a gamble because at this stage he's reached a level of fame where the gigs required to progress only allow for 2 chances to get the right combination of a sequence of 3 possible actions. Early on, you have 3 chances, so by process of elimination, you can always land on the right combo by the last try. But at this point, if you choose all wrong on the first go, there are still 8 possible combinations on your final attempt. If you get 2 correct, you still get paid, just a lower amount, but any less than 2 and you receive no money for the gig, and also run the risk of being demoted. These gigs take a lot of time and energy, and you can only visit Studio Town once per day, so this prevents you from earning super outsized amounts of income from pursuing fame rather than a different career. All that to say, progress toward our net worth goal has slowed with me no longer working a traditional job. But at least Jerry is contributing. His paintings sell for about 5 simoleons, and he occasionally pulls in cash from Grandpa for good grades. On day 162, we get a bit of a surprising phone call. Apparently SimCity Social Services believes in second chances, and so do I, so Virtutes joins the family. Hopefully we can get her to adolescence so Jerry will have a sibling to play with. We have a close call on her second day, but with Bonehilda's help, we managed to make it to day 3, and Virtutes evolves into her child form, complete with green pantsuit and coiffed hair like a tiny Hillary Clinton. A few days later, one of my charms backfires and the whole family gets stuck with donkey heads. It's not a big deal or anything, it washes off in the shower, but Elden has started getting on my case about devoting all my time to magic, so I turned him into a toad just for a little while. He's totally back to normal by the evening and shooting more music videos in Studio Town, where he actually gets a promotion, so no harm no foul. He's in the movies now and wins an award for that a couple days later, which is delivered directly to our home by Marilyn Monroe. But anyway, it turns out those dead flowers Elden's stalker has been leaving around our house are good for something magical that is. So on day 169 I used them to craft the Price of Fame charm, which grants me instant celebrity status. You would think Elden would be annoyed by me cheating my way to the top of a career track he's worked at for months, but my sudden fame seems to have the opposite effect on him, which catches me off guard initially, but soon we settle into our role as Studio Town's biggest celebrity power couple. I do continue to use magic along the way to build up my network, and with us both shooting movies daily, we're able to pull in up to 4,000 simoleons on a good day. On day 177, Elden reaches the height of fame, becoming a 5-star celebrity. He now gets to ride in this beautiful pink flamingo limo, and has a rotating star over his head at all times, to signal his superiority to the unwashed masses. While I'm only 1 step below Elden on the ladder of fame, I still consider myself primarily a witch, and I'm chasing a specific goal in that field of work now. I remember from playing this game as a kid that there's a charm that allows you to age up child Sims, which is the only way to do so in The Sims 1, as far as I know. If I age up Jerry, we could have 3 incomes and reach a net worth of 100,000 simoleons even faster. One thing I forgot, however, was that charm can only be created by a child. It's cool that children were considered in the gameplay for the Make and Magic expansion pack, but I have been wasting my time by trying every adult spell and charm in the book, which is something I don't realize until about day 180. So first I send Jerry to Magic Town, which is also incorrect because he has no means of earning magic coins to purchase the ingredients for the charm. Unlike the later Sims games, I can't just transfer the items from my inventory to his. He does have to obtain them on his own, but this is not the way. So after a quick consultation with Sims Wiki, I buy us a dragon egg and a toadstool chair so Jerry can start harvesting dragon scales and toadstools on his own. The egg hatches really quickly, the dragon's name is Burnie and he's the cutest thing. I'm also counting him as our 3rd pet, so there's another goal down. I'm not sure what I'm supposed to feed him, but he seems content to just eat our plants, and that's fine with me, they only cost about 10 simoleons. The next day I earn some kind of film award in Studio Town, and then head back home to Burnie. Jerry hasn't gotten any dragon scales off him yet, but I don't mind, it's fun to just watch him run around our lot. He even plays with our dog Fifi, which is very precious. Jerry takes care of the plants for Burnie too, so I guess he's learning a bit of responsibility there. I know people like to say that about kids and pets. But unfortunately, Burnie is not always very well behaved. Right after the kids get home from school on day 183, he sets my little magic shed on fire. I don't have any smoke alarms out there, but luckily Elden is able to put it out pretty quickly, and nothing is damaged. Later that night, while we're having dinner with Howard and Bonnie somebody, we are less lucky when Burnie sets the bedroom on fire. Elden and Bonnie get a start on it while we wait for the fire department to show up, but that doesn't go so well for Bonnie, and she perishes in the flames. The blaze is still pretty out of control, even with the help of a firefighter, and Elden tragically passes shortly after. While Bonehilda sweeps up the ashes, I build a little graveyard on our lot, and head out there with Howard to mourn our dearly departed. But disaster strikes once again almost immediately when Burnie sets fire to Jerry and Virtutes' playground. I call the fire department again, and decide I need to release Burnie to prevent any further catastrophe, a measure I was hoping to avoid. Thinking he's gone, I start helping Bonehilda with the ashes, but then I spot him at the back of the lot hanging out with Fifi. I try to dismiss Burnie again before passing out from exhaustion on the kitchen floor. Luckily, the noise of the TV wakes me up, but there's already another fire going, and by the time I get to the phone to call the fire department, Virtutes has passed, and I have passed out once again. The TV wakes me up once more, and this time I am finally successful in setting Burnie free. I make sure to keep eyes on him all the way to the edge of the lot as I pass out in our front yard. Wasn't aware of it at the time, but I happened to be recording my laptop mic audio while playing the game that night, and while I sat with it on pause, this was my assessment of the evening. Alright, well that's eventful. Which is why I wouldn't be very good at reaction-based content. But anyway, it takes a few days to clean up all the ashes, replace the furniture, and get the house back in order. I also make a few changes while I'm at it, and I decide to give up both magic and fame, so I take a new career in journalism and replace all my magic paraphernalia with a home canning station and a woodworking table. I kind of feel like I've completely lost touch with who I am at this point, so I change back to my original jorts and t-shirt outfit in an attempt to restore some sense of self. At least Jerry seems to be handling things okay. I've also been able to reconnect with my first friend Diane Pleasant, which is nice. Jerry has her son Daniel over pretty often as well, so he's not getting too lonely. Having started at the bottom of a new career track, however, I am living beyond my means at the moment, so my net worth is heading in the wrong direction. The promotions do start coming pretty rapidly around day 191, but I'm not necessarily trying to get to the top of this career track, just increase my net worth. Reaching level 10 once was enough as far as I'm concerned, so that goal is locked in. Building and maintaining friendships is far and away the most taxing part of climbing career ladders in this game. It's basically a second job, so I'm back to having people over for dinner every single night, hanging out in Old Town and downtown, and I even get a grill and a big picnic table and start throwing parties. But when I get promoted to level 8 of the journalism career track and see that I'll need 11 friends to advance further, I decide that's as far as I'm willing to go and start dabbling in other ways to make money. Painting, while lucrative in later versions of this game, will at most net you 166 simoleons for several hours of work in The Sims 1, so it's really not a viable option to get me to 100,000. With my skills where they're at right now, in about an hour of time I can make 1 box of preserves, which will sell for 42 simoleons, or about 2 gnomes, which sell for 27 each. So I decide to exit the rat race and focus on gnomes. Another pivot means another outfit change, so I'm back to the jeans and crop top. I won't be needing friends anymore, so I get rid of the big picnic table and start my life as a maker of gnomes. I basically choose my own hours now, so I'm free to have breakfast and dinner with Jerry every day, and I still invite my dearest and oldest friends over on the rare occasions that I want to socialize. Eventually I move my workbench outside of the shed so I can have more room to line up the gnomes before selling them off in batches. I've also picked up gardening again, so most of my days are spent out of doors. One of the dogs I hang out with in the yard pretty often is Buzz Strays, who appears to be some sort of terrier. On day 238 he joins the family, so I'm now back up to 3 pets, a goal I previously only held briefly before Burnie massacred my family. When I max out my mechanical skill, my gnomes start selling for 100 simoleons apiece, so I can make about 200 per hour, which is on par with the compensation at the top level of any traditional career. But as I draw closer to my net worth goal, I start to lose sight of the work-life balance that self-employment afforded me, and spend more and more time on the gnomes. I stay at the workbench later and later every night, stopping only when I can't go on. I pay minimal attention to Jerry, we no longer have dinner together. I lose friends, I check my progress compulsively, and finally on day 246, when I pull up the budget display and see the number I've been waiting for, it's a Pyrrhic victory. I have no genuine impulse to celebrate, but feel I should mark the occasion somehow, so I order a pizza and throw a little party. When the guests arrive, I mill about awkwardly as they eat, and Jerry plays basketball with Cassandra Goth in the backyard. I briefly chat with Diane Pleasant by the pool, but by 10 p.m. I'm exhausted from a long day and a long life, and head to bed while the guests are still chatting in the living room. On the other side of the screen, I exit the game, stare into the middle distance for a few minutes, and head to bed where I reflect on the experience. I had started out having a lot of fun. I wasn't even bummed when Annie2 died because it gave me an opportunity to fix my mistakes and build something bigger and better. And when Annie2 got booted from her career track right after she reached level 10, I was actually pretty excited to stop playing by the book and dabble in the dark arts. But babysitting a sim so I could watch them make gnomes for 8 hours a day? I was a little disgusted with myself. I think I had been YouTubed. At some point, I was no longer directing the video was directing me, and I had allowed the pursuit of an arbitrary challenge goal to eclipse the importance of enjoying the journey. So when I hit 100,000 simoleons, I saw no reason to continue. But in truth, I wasn't done. I had disrespected The Sims, using it for my own ends, instead of simply appreciating the joy of the game. I knew a sacrifice would be required of me to ever have fun playing this game again, rather than just feeling a vague sense of obligation. So 2 actual days later, I returned to the scene of the crime. After Jerry left for school, I locked Bonehilda and the pets up a safe distance from home, and then set fire to all of my belongings. I watched it burn for a while, then bulldozed the lot and moved the family to a cottage on the opposite edge of town, where Annie2 started living life and I slowly started enjoying the game again. Annie2 is now a full-time homesteader and part-time witch who spends most of her days gardening, training her pets, and making artisanal food and beverage products. She has maintained her friendships with Diane Pleasant and Brad Burb, but has not spoken to Tiffany Burb since the 100,000 simoleons party. Jerry continued to excel in school and spend most of his time playing with friends and the new family dragon Torch, who is much better behaved than Burnie. He did eventually manage to craft the Age of Instant Charm and evolved directly into a middle-aged balding doctor. He now passes his evenings playing checkers with his mother on the patio. So in conclusion, Rags to Riches in The Sims 1 can be very tedious. Your success early on is going to be highly contingent on what job happens to be in the newspaper your first day of gameplay, because after that you will not be in a good enough mood to find a new job for a while, so it's really just a roll of the dice. If we look at the entry-level jobs across all career tracks, the highest salary is 250 simoleons for the military career track, which is almost 3 times higher than the lowest, at 90 simoleons for the slacker, music, culinary arts, and circus career tracks. So that can end up being the difference of a couple weeks of gameplay in this challenge, especially if you're not getting many windfalls. And starting out is nearly impossible without windfalls, so your first purchase should always be a phone. Due to the rapid motive decay and lack of weekends in this game, climbing career tracks is pretty challenging once you get to the point of needing to maintain several friendships, because that's incredibly time consuming. And even if you manage to get to the top, where you typically earn 1,000 to 2,000 simoleons per day, you will eventually get booted to a lower level in another career track against your will. My guess is this was intended to keep people interested in playing the game after reaching that point, since it is self-directed with no explicit objectives, so careers are one of the few clearly defined markers of progress. As far as alternative careers go, you can play your odds in Studio Town and earn up to a little over 2,000 simoleons per day if you make it to the top. But nearly all of your free time will be spent taking care of your needs so that you can go out and maintain that fame. And for self-employment, painting and farming probably won't get you too far, but making gnomes seems to be one of the more profitable options. And if you combine that with magic, you can make them run around, which is fun. But magic itself is not particularly profitable either. So, in my experience, once I had worked up to a decent home around day 60 or so, there were definitely diminishing returns with regard to time invested versus enjoyment of gameplay. So I don't think I would do this challenge again in The Sims 1. It's more fun to just cheat for money and do magic and stuff in this game. Still gonna try this in the other 3 because I know they are very different, but I hope this truly was the hardest one because 246 days of gameplay dedicated to building wealth is a little extreme. But that's pretty much it, folks. Thanks for watching. I should have another video coming eventually. No promises on timeline. For some quick background on that, I was between jobs while making my last 2 videos, which allowed me to dedicate a lot of time to those, but I'm luckily going to be working again now, so the pace of videos coming out might slow down a bit, but I'll still be around and still playing Sims. So, see you later, I guess. Bye.